most dangerous person in your life may not be the one who insults you, pressures you, or tries to control you. It may be the version of you that wakes up every morning and gives everyone else access to your mind before you even decide what matters. Think about your first few minutes after waking up. Before your feet touch the floor, you reach for your phone. One notification changes your mood. One message creates tension. One post makes you compare your life to someone else's. One headline gives you something new to worry about. And suddenly your day has barely begun, yet your mind is already reacting to a world you never chose to enter. This is how control is lost. Not always through force, but through attention. And if you want to learn how the Stoics trained themselves to remain mentally unshaken, stay with me until the end. And if you're serious about mastering your mind, instead of letting the world master it for you, subscribe now, because everything we're about to uncover begins with one simple decision. Who gets access to your mind? The Stoics understood something most people discover far too late. If you cannot govern your own mind, everything outside you becomes capable of governing you. Epictetus taught that you must separate what belongs to you from what does not. Other people's opinions are not yours, their moods are not yours, their reactions are not yours, but your judgment is, your choices are. And your response is. That means your morning is not simply a routine. It is your first opportunity to practice freedom. Before the world tells you what deserves your anger, decide what deserves your attention. Before someone else's success makes you feel behind, remember the direction of your own life. Before a difficult person tests your patience, decide who you will be when they do. Because the goal is not to control people. The goal is to become so internally disciplined that people lose the ability to control your state. And tomorrow morning, the first battle will begin before anyone says a word. The world will try to enter your mind. The real question is whether you will decide what gets to stay there. The first decision you make each morning may be the most important decision you make all day, because it teaches your mind one thing. Who is in control? Before you check your phone, answer a message, or consume someone else's opinion, there is a brief moment when your attention still belongs entirely to you. Most people surrender that moment without realizing what they've given away. They wake up and immediately seek stimulation. Notifications, social media, news, messages, entertainment. It feels harmless because it takes only a few seconds. But those seconds are training something. Every time you obey the impulse to reach for stimulation, you make that impulse easier to obey tomorrow. Until eventually you stop choosing the habit. The habit chooses for you. So reclaim the beginning of your day. You don't need to throw away your phone or reject the modern world. Stoicism isn't about escaping technology. It's about remaining in command of yourself while using it. Use technology because you decided to, not because your mind demanded stimulation the moment you opened your eyes. Marcus Aurelius understood that difficult people, responsibilities, and unexpected problems were always waiting for him. So he didn't wait for the chaos to arrive before deciding who he would be. He prepared his mind first. Do the same. Give yourself a few minutes of silence. Breathe. Sit without reaching for stimulation. Ask yourself, what is within my control today? What deserves my energy? And what kind of person do I want my actions to prove I am? Because when you begin the morning by choosing your direction, something changes. You are no longer entering the day waiting to react. You are entering it with a decision already made. But protecting your morning from outside noise isn't enough. Because even when the world is silent, your own mind can still attack you. And that brings us to the next battle. The first thought you allow to become your reality. The first thought you have in the morning can quietly decide the direction of your entire day. Before anything has actually gone wrong, your mind can already be replaying yesterday's mistake, predicting tomorrow's disaster, or reminding you of something someone said that still hurts. The day hasn't challenged you yet, but you're already carrying emotional weight. The Stoics understood something most people never learn. A thought is not a command. A thought can appear without being true. An emotion can rise without deserving your obedience. Epictetus taught that we are often disturbed not simply by what happens, but by the judgment we attach to what happens. And that distinction gives you something incredibly powerful. Space. Imagine waking up thinking, today is going to be terrible. Most people accept the thought immediately. Then they start searching for evidence to prove it. One small problem happens, and suddenly the thought feels like a prediction that came true. But what if you stopped and asked, is this a fact or simply the first story my mind created? That single question can interrupt the entire pattern. You don't need fake positivity. Stoicism isn't pretending nothing will go wrong. It's preparing yourself to meet whatever happens without surrendering your judgment. Tell yourself, whatever happens today, I will deal with it one thing at a time. You cannot control every event, but you can control the meaning you give it and the response you choose. So bring your attention back to what actually belongs to you. Your effort, your choices, your words, your character. And remember this: yesterday does not automatically deserve a seat at today's table. A failure can become a lesson without becoming your identity. A rejection can hurt without becoming proof that you're worthless. A mistake can teach you without defining you. So tomorrow morning when a negative thought appears, don't fight it, don't obey it, observe it. Create a moment between the thought and your reaction, because that small space is where self-mastery begins. But controlling your thoughts is only half the battle. You can manage your mind and still remain controlled by something even deeper: the need for other people to approve of you. One of the easiest ways to lose control of your life is to become dependent on being understood, accepted, praised, and respected by everyone around you. Because the moment you need someone else's approval to feel secure, you've quietly handed them control over your peace. Think about how quickly your mood can change when someone ignores you, criticizes your work, misunderstands your intentions, or refuses to give you the respect you expected. Nothing about your character changed, yet suddenly you feel smaller. Why? Because you allowed someone else's judgment to become a measurement of your worth. The Stoics understood this dangerous form of attachment. Marcus Aurelius lived surrounded by people who praised him, criticized him, betrayed him, and demanded things from him, yet he kept returning to one principle: your character matters more than the opinions surrounding it. You cannot control how people interpret you. You cannot force someone to respect you. You cannot make everyone understand your intentions. And the harder you try to control those things, the more power you give them over you. The stronger response isn't to become cold or arrogant. It's to become internally anchored. Ask yourself, if nobody praised me for this, would I still believe it was worth doing? If the answer is no, examine why. If someone misunderstands you, ask, do I truly need to correct them, or does my ego simply want validation? And if someone dislikes you, remember, their judgment does not define your character. Your response does. This is where freedom begins. You stop performing for approval and start acting according to principles. And something changes when you no longer need everyone to approve of you. Rejection becomes easier to survive. Criticism becomes easier to examine. Silence becomes easier to tolerate. And you become harder to manipulate, because praise can no longer buy your obedience, and disapproval can no longer threaten your identity. But even after you stop seeking approval, another chain is waiting underneath it all. Comfort. And if you cannot willingly choose discomfort, eventually comfort will choose your life for you. Comfort feels harmless because it rarely destroys your life in one dramatic moment. It simply makes the difficult choice easier to postpone. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. You'll train later. You'll make the call when you feel ready. You'll finish the work when motivation returns. Nothing seems wrong in that moment. But repeat that decision often enough, and comfort becomes a quiet form of control. The Stoics understood that strength is built through voluntary difficulty. Musonius Rufus taught that hardship can become training for character. The goal isn't to make your life miserable. It's to prove something to yourself. Discomfort does not have authority over your actions. Think about the moment your alarm rings. Your mind immediately begins negotiating. 5 more minutes. You worked hard yesterday. You can start later. The problem isn't the 5 minutes. It's the identity you reinforce every time you obey the easiest impulse. Every time you choose the harder action for the right reason, you strengthen self-command. Get up when you said you would. Finish the important task before entertainment. Exercise when you don't feel like it. Have the conversation you've been avoiding. These small decisions teach you something powerful. I don't need to feel comfortable before I act. That principle changes everything. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop treating temporary discomfort as a warning sign. You begin seeing resistance as part of the training. But understand the distinction. Stoicism isn't about suffering for no reason. Discipline means choosing discomfort when it serves something valuable. You're not punishing yourself. You're training yourself to choose deliberately instead of automatically obeying pleasure. And once you learn to resist comfort, another challenge appears. You can control your habits. You can question your thoughts. You can stop chasing approval. But what happens when someone deliberately tries to provoke you? Because that's where self-control stops being an idea and becomes a test. The moment someone provokes you, your real level of self-control becomes visible. It's easy to feel calm when everyone respects you, your plans are working, and nobody is challenging your ego. But one disrespectful comment can reveal whether your peace actually belongs to you or depends on other people behaving the way you want. This is why you must learn to guard your emotional triggers. Someone can insult you without controlling you. Someone can misunderstand you without controlling you. Someone can reject or provoke you without earning the right to decide what happens inside your mind. The Stoics understood this distinction clearly. Epictetus taught that events themselves do not automatically control our inner state. Our judgments about those events matter. The moment you say, They made me angry. You've already surrendered part of your power. A stronger position is, something happened. Anger appeared. Now I choose what to do with it. That doesn't mean suppressing emotion. Suppression is pretending the feeling doesn't exist. Stoic discipline is noticing the emotion without allowing it to become your commander. Imagine someone sends you a message designed to upset you. Your first impulse is to respond immediately. You type something sharp, you send it. For a moment, you feel relief. Then you realize something uncomfortable. You gave another person control over your behavior with nothing more than a few words on a screen. The stronger response is to create distance. Pause. Breathe. Read the message again without the emotional story surrounding it. Then ask, what response would I respect tomorrow? Sometimes the answer is to respond calmly. Sometimes it's to say nothing. And sometimes it's to walk away completely. The goal isn't to win every confrontation. It's to remain in possession of yourself. Because once you stop reacting automatically, people lose one of their easiest ways to influence you. But there is still one final level of control to master. Not just your reactions to people, but the voice inside your own mind that tells you who you are. There is a voice inside your mind that speaks before anyone else does. It judges your mistakes, predicts your failures, compares your progress with everyone around you, and sometimes convinces you that one bad moment says something permanent about who you are. The danger is that the voice sounds like you, so you automatically believe it. But Stoicism teaches you to question your judgments instead of becoming their prisoner. Epictetus understood that an event and your interpretation of that event are not the same thing. Someone rejects you, that's an event. I'm not good enough is an interpretation. You make a mistake, that's an event. I always ruin everything is a judgment. And once you recognize the difference, you gain something powerful. The ability to challenge the story your mind creates. That's why the way you speak to yourself matters. Don't tell yourself, I can't handle today. Tell yourself, whatever today brings, I'll handle one thing at a time. Don't say, everyone is ahead of me. Ask, what is the next action within my control? And don't say, I failed, so I'm a failure. Say, I failed at something, now I can learn from it. The difference sounds small, but repeated judgments become beliefs, and beliefs begin shaping the identity you carry into the world. You're not trying to become blindly positive, you're training yourself to become accurate, rational, and useful under pressure. A Stoic doesn't deny weakness. He refuses to turn weakness into an identity. So when that voice appears, listen carefully. When it makes a prediction, question it. When it creates a judgment, examine it. When it turns one mistake into a permanent identity, challenge it. Because the strongest mind isn't the one that never experiences fear, anger, doubt, or failure. It's the mind that experiences them without allowing them to decide who it becomes next. The world can still challenge you. People can still reject you. Problems can still hurt. But they no longer get to tell you who you are. And when you stop allowing every thought, rejection, mistake, and emotion to define you. You finally begin choosing who you become. There is a final level of freedom most people never reach. It isn't controlling your morning. It isn't controlling your thoughts, your habits, or even your emotions. It's deciding who you will remain when life stops cooperating. Because life will test every principle you claim to have. People will disappoint you. Plans will fail. You will face rejection, loss, uncertainty, and days when you simply don't feel strong. And if your character depends on circumstances being favorable, your peace will always be temporary. Marcus Aurelius understood this. He carried enormous responsibility, yet he kept returning to the same foundation. Return to reason, fulfill your role, control what belongs to you. He couldn't command every event around him, but he could decide how he would meet them. And that is what all these morning practices were really preparing you for. Choose your principles before the day chooses your behavior. Decide that you will not trade your integrity for approval. You will not trade your peace for an argument. You will not trade your discipline for temporary comfort. You will not trade your self-respect for someone's attention. Because pressure makes people forget what they believe. But when your principles are decided in advance, you don't have to ask yourself what to do every time something goes wrong. You already decided. That is what makes a person difficult to control. Not anger, not coldness, not pretending to need nobody. True strength is having an internal standard that doesn't change every time the outside world does. So each morning, remind yourself, I will control what belongs to me. I will accept what does not, and I will act according to my principles even when it is uncomfortable. Because the goal was never to create a life where nothing goes wrong. That life does not exist. The goal is to become the kind of person who does not lose himself every time something goes wrong. And when you become that person, the world may still influence your circumstances, but it no longer owns your mind. If this philosophy speaks to the person you're trying to become, subscribe. Not because life will suddenly become easier, but because you are learning to become stronger than the circumstances that once controlled you. The goal was never a perfect life. The goal was to become strong enough to remain yourself when life isn't. The 7 rules were never really about waking up earlier, avoiding your phone, or forcing yourself to become productive. They were about something deeper. Taking back ownership of your mind before the world starts telling you what to think, what to fear, and what deserves your attention. You protect your first moments. You question your first thoughts instead of obeying them. You stop depending on approval. You choose discipline over automatic comfort. You pause when people provoke you. You challenge the voice that turns mistakes into identities. And finally, you choose principles over circumstances. Put together, these practices create something far more valuable than a perfect morning routine. They create self-command. You will still have bad days. You will still feel anger, rejection, uncertainty, temptation, and fear. The difference is that these things no longer get to decide what kind of person you become. That is what Stoic strength really looks like. It isn't becoming emotionless. It's becoming difficult to move away from your principles. It's hearing criticism without collapsing, experiencing discomfort without running, facing rejection without begging, and encountering chaos without becoming chaotic yourself. So tomorrow morning, before you touch your phone or allow the outside world into your mind, remember this. Your first responsibility isn't to control the day. It's to control the person who enters it. Practice these rules consistently, and something powerful begins to change. People can still influence your circumstances. Life can still surprise you. Problems can still hurt. But your attention, your emotions, and your decisions no longer belong so easily to the outside world. You become difficult to control. Now tell me in the comments, which of these 7 rules will you practice tomorrow? And if you want to keep building a mind that stays calm, disciplined, and free under pressure, subscribe. Because the goal was never to control the world. The goal was to become someone the world cannot easily control.